2, 1.
Even if you've never been snorkeling in the Florida Keys or dove the Great Barrier Reef, you've probably heard of coral reefs. These are some photos of coral reefs. Notice how beautiful and magnificent the colors are. Notice all of the swimming sea life. Did you know that coral is actually a living organism? It may just look like a sea plant, but it does more than that. So, as you can see, many of these coral have lost their color. They're starting to turn white. As you can see here, there's nice fish swimming everywhere, and once you get over here, there's nothing. So, what exactly is happening to them? Inside coral, there are these little organisms called zooxanthellae. They have symbiotic relationships with the organisms. So this coral expresses these zooxanthellae when they get stressed out. That causes them to lose their pigmentation and also all of the nutrients and other things they need to maintain homeostasis. So when coral is stressed out, it cannot provide them with the components for photosynthesis like ammonium and carbon dioxide. So it starts to die. So these reefs are dying, some of the most magnificent and intricate natural beauties that have ever lived on this planet, going extinct right before your very eyes. You may want to know what this has to do with you or understand what is going to be impacted in your life. So what does coral do? It protects shorelines from erosion, strong waves preventing loss of property. They shelter about 25% of marine species. They support fishing industries and provide money from tourism. Also, coral is big on the pharmacology industry. A lot of people don't know this, but the National Ocean Service calls coral the medicine cabinets of the 21st century. According to them, because coral is a stationary animal, it must have evolved more towards protecting itself chemically from predators. There's a treatment for cancer being developed from algae and a painkiller sourced from the venom in cone snails. According to Issues in Science and Technology magazine, the prospect of finding a new drug in the sea, especially among coral reef species, may be 300 to 400 times more likely than in doing so isolating one from a terrestrial ecosystem or one on land. So, in a way, it's really bad if coral goes extinct. Like, things will start to erode really bad, causing us to have less land over time. Coastal storms will easily flood and destroy the coastal area without the coral blocking it. There will be no natural filtration for the sea. There will be fewer food supply for subtropical societies. Coastal areas' economies will be affected, especially since the tourists won't visit there anymore. So losing them would amount to losing billions of dollars. Not to mention the fact that we won't be able to study how much potential coral offers over time. So why does this happen? Potential causes behind this bleaching phenomena include hydrocarbon exposure, which is an excess amount of carbon-based pollutants, destructive boating practices and overfishing, as well as some natural impacts from El Niño. A small change in water temperature, 1 to 2 degrees Celsius, can be fatal for a reef. Other things include pollution from boating, oil, and pesticides, as well as physical damage from destructive habits such as blast fishing. So dynamite fishing, or blast fishing, pictured up here in the upper left corner, is when fishermen use explosives and poisons to sort of blast fish out of their reefs and into nets. Often the coral is shot beyond repair from this. More boating-related injury to coral comes from boats being improperly ground when an anchor lands on the coral and destroys it manually. Other things like bags in the ocean and stuff like that is really not good and not sustainable for our coral species at all. So that's why you're all here today. here's what we can do to make sure that our coral can be around for a lot longer. So some of the most important things include like conserving water, carpooling, stuff like that. The less water you use, the less runoff and wastewater that eventually finds their way back into the ocean. You can always volunteer in a local beach or reef cleanup. If you don't live near the coast, then there's a watershed that you could get involved with protecting. Um, Using LED light bulbs or energy efficient light bulbs reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and cuts down on some of that hydrocarbon exposure that we talked about earlier. Climate change is the leading cause behind coral reef survival. Another big thing is if you go diving, please don't pick up the coral. That's really bad for it. They're alive. As long as you educate yourself and tell other people, there's a lot of ways that we can do better than we're doing right now. And that's what's important, is that we can be sustainable and lead to a better life, both underwater and out of water, for all of us living here on this green earth.